All right, welcome back to the channel. So it was a really, really good fight between Virgil Ortiz and Maurice Hooker. Virgil Ortiz wins by knockout and then gets into a face-to-face with Terence Crawford, trying to set up a fight with him next. Let's talk about that fight and the potential fight with Terence Crawford in this video. All right, welcome back, welcome back. So that was a very, very good night of fights on DAZN. Have to say, really, really did enjoy it. Actually enjoyed the whole day worth of fights. Lawrence Okolie was another fight that I watched. He got a knockout win in his fight. That was a terrific fight. Then watched the DAZN card, and I really started watching at Sinisa Estrada versus, I think the lady's name was Ortiz, and a very, very good fight. If you guys haven't had an opportunity to watch that fight, go watch the Sinisa Estrada fight. Very, very good fighter. But, of course, the big fight of the night was Maurice Hooker versus Virgil Ortiz. Virgil Ortiz is an up-and-coming 147-pound fighter out of Dallas, Texas, or out of Texas, the Dallas area. Is represented by Golden Boy Promotions and is one of their two, three best up-and-coming stars, or right now with the loss of Canelo Alvarez, are their biggest stars, who would be, Ryan Garcia, Virgil Ortiz, and then Rashidi Ellis is somebody that I really like, the Golden Boy as well. But Virgil Ortiz is one of their big guys, so this was a big step-up fight for him. He's fighting former 140-pound world champion Maurice Hooker, who is also from Dallas. Maurice Hooker had lost his 140-pound title to Jose Ramirez in a knockout loss. He is moving up. There was a bunch of conversation about him fighting Regis Prograis. That didn't work out, but he winds up taking a hometown fight against Virgil Ortiz, and I thought he put in a pretty good show, man. Now, Virgil Ortiz, as far as how that fight went, is a very, very strong young fighter, man. Very, very aggressive, and it was pretty obvious to see from the time that the fight started that Virgil Ortiz's size and strength advantage was going to be a major part of that fight. They really did look like there were two different weight classes of people. So the fight went pretty much how people thought it would go. In that Virgil Ortiz was going to win by knockout. I thought it would happen between the 6th and the 8th round, something like that. And that's pretty much what happened. Virgil Ortiz was just way too strong for Maurice Hooker, and Maurice Hooker just did not really have anything to hold him off. Right now, for people who are fans of Virgil Ortiz, they will definitely point to the body attack, the good things that went on in this fight for him, which were that that he was. His jab was very powerful, right? He was forcing the fight. I found that he was maybe following Maurice Hooker around a little bit too much, but once he realized that Maurice Hooker was not going to go from headshots, and he wound up getting really, getting countered pretty decently. I think after 4 rounds, I had it 2-2 after 4 rounds. I thought that Virgil Ortiz got the first 2 rounds, and I thought Maurice Hooker got the second 2 rounds. Definitely the 4th round, I could see how some people could give Virgil Ortiz the 3rd round, but by the 6th round, he had wrapped it up. And he really just started going at the guy's body and really breaking his body down. I think the fight eventually got stopped because he hit him and he hurt his arm or something like that. But that could have been from them very, very heavy body shots that Virgil Ortiz was laying to his arms, right, when he was, trying to keep pinning his hands down and protect his body. It was just Maurice Hooker's body could not stand up to that type of attack. So that's kind of how that fight played out, pretty much how we thought it would. And then, in the lead up to the fight, there's been a lot of talk about who Virgil Ortiz is going to fight next. Errol Spence Jr. was in the crowd. Terence Crawford was in the crowd. Terence Crawford says that he doesn't care about that Errol Spence Jr. fight, man. It's like, I'll do another whole video on that, man. Like, you got to come on with this, Terence. Like, don't just throw your whole career away. Because if he continues with that stance, man, like I said, I'm gonna have a whole nother video from that. But regardless, Virgil Ortiz has been. They were mentioning the people around Virgil Ortiz, that being his promoters who are Golden Boy Promotions. Bernard Hopkins has said it. Oscar De La Hoya said it. And then when DAZN was pushing it throughout this whole telecast that the next fight for Virgil Ortiz could be for Terence Crawford. And, nah, man, he's not ready for that, man. Like I understand what they're saying. Now, this is the logic behind putting Virgil Ortiz in there. Well, first, let me tell you what happened when he called him out. Terence Crawford was living there looking at like, look, man, don't take this fight, man. Like, you're not ready. Don't take this fight. You know what I'm saying? Like, nah, I know you talking. They asking you about me. You better keep your name up out of my mouth, right? And Virgil Ortiz was being respectful. Like, hey, I don't care if I'm ready. I'll take the fight. Like, look, man, Virgil Ortiz, do not let Terence Crawford bait you into that, man, because you are going to lose that fight, man. Ain't no way. As much as he got touched up by Maurice Hooker, that you can even really think, that he has a shot with Terence Crawford, man. He got hit way too flushly, way too often against a Maurice Hooker that really was just taking 3 steps backwards and planting his feet. So, I think that Virgil Ortiz has a lot of talent, but honestly, man, that just going what he showed against Maurice Hooker, that's not going to cut it against Terence Crawford, man. Maurice, as far as I saw from Virgil Ortiz, Virgil Ortiz has one speed, and that's just go. You know what I mean? Like, he has one speed, and it's go. I don't know, man. I think that I need to see more wrinkles to his game. I need to see him be able to do something other than just try to follow a guy around and then just wing big shots at him, man, because that uppercut from Terence Crawford is going to knock his head clear off. Terence Crawford's uppercut is going to knock his head clear off his shoulders, man. It's just, he's not ready for that. Now, I know why, there's arguments to say, well, why Terence Crawford, right? Well, Terence Crawford is a smaller welterweight, right? He's a smaller welterweight. He has been, he got dropped by Aegis Kalvanakis, right? So there could be that thought process that, that because of the size and the strength advantages that Virgil Ortiz apparently has over Terence Crawford, that, he might be able to take advantage of that. And I think that there's a possibility that that's the case, but he would almost have to be lucky in order to do that, right? And in truth, looking at Virgil Ortiz, the gap between Virgil Ortiz and Jaron Ennis, in my opinion, just got wider. I don't see a fight between Jaron Ennis. Now, I know, the triangle theories don't really work. However, that Maurice Hooker would have been a much easier fight for Jaron Ennis than it was for Virgil Ortiz. Here's something that I think can illustrate that. If Maurice Hooker was the same size and strength as Errol Spence Jr. and just fought the same style that Maurice Hooker was fighting, Maurice Hooker would have beaten Virgil Ortiz. And I just can't see there being very much of a chance at all of Virgil Ortiz beating Jaron Ennis. So, all in all, Virgil Ortiz is a very, very solid fighter. I do believe that he's going to be one of the top welterweights, but he's a ways away from beating anybody like Sean Porter, Errol Spence Jr., or Terence Crawford, in my opinion. But, all in all, man, I did like the card very much. And again, Seniesa Estrada, that to me was like the biggest star of the night. That is an excellent, excellent fighter. Anyway, you let me know what you think in the comment section. And with that, I'm out. Peace.